I don't usually talk about things like this on my channel since it does have to do with politics, but because it also involves law enforcement and it's inextricably linked with politics because Donald Trump was involved in that shooting on July 15th, I feel like I want to talk about it because this is an example where law enforcement, I don't care if you're talking about Secret Service, I don't care if you're talking about special forces, I don't care if you're talking about the sheriff's department or the police department with the police chief, they got one job. And they say their job is to protect and serve. In this case, they only had to protect one man. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs of everything that happened on that day. I see the videos just like you do. I hear what the news reports say. I hear what Donald Trump's camp says. I hear what rightist and leftist media say. And I'm just left with more questions at the end of it than when I started because things look really iffy. It looks like Secret Service, who did have the job in the inner perimeter, and then they blamed all the outer perimeter stuff, which is where Crooks supposedly was up on that roof. They blamed that on the local law enforcement. They're like, well, they should have taken care of outer perimeter. We had inner perimeter. But really, the buck does stop with Secret Service in the case of a former president and a presidential hopeful. And what happens is a week or two before the event even starts, they go scope everything out. They find out what the high points are, the hiding places. They try to eliminate all the bad things that could potentially happen. And then they man those places, especially the high places. So it makes no sense that this kid, this 20-year-old kid, was able to take his equipment up a ladder on top of a building that supposedly housed the headquarters of the police department who is there securing the outer perimeter. None of this makes any sense. I'm going to play this video right here. This is an exclusive video that shows the shooter walking around by himself looking up at the roofs near Trump. Here he is right here. I'm just going to go ahead and turn the audio off. They're saying this is an hour plus before the shooting. They say this is Crooks, and it does kind of look like the guy that we saw in the pictures walking around the building and looking up. It says just a security failure. You've seen the BBC guy, well, the BBC interview where the guy's saying, yeah, 2 or 3 minutes. Some are saying 4 or 5 minutes, but I think that interview said 2 or 3 minutes before. They were trying to get law enforcement and Secret Service attention to tell them, hey, there's a guy up on the roof and that doesn't look right. So there's this whole comedy of errors thing. Here's where they kind of slowed down and did a little bit of digital enhancement showing that science proves this to be a miracle. Angels of God were surrounding Trump. You know, they tell us the official story is that Donald Trump was grazed by this bullet. 223 or 5.56, whatever. It was launched from, they say, an AR style rifle, and that Trump just happened to turn his head at the exact moment. If he hadn't, the worst could have happened. Let's just take a look at this.
Look what happened.
Not only did he turn his head, but he kind of turned it and cocked it like this. We're going to watch this a couple times.
Look what happened.
So, I mean, it's interesting. The question is, was he, and here's another angle. Let me expand this because this is something that I just first saw today. They say this is footage, but this is just 2 frames. So that's the position his head was in mere seconds, if not just 1 second before the round supposedly, reportedly went by his right ear or grazed his right ear. And that right there. So look at the center of that. That's where it could have hit. This isn't what the shooter would have seen. This is just somebody recording in the audience. I looked up what's the bullet velocity coming out of the muzzle. If it was a 223 or 5.56, I haven't heard. I don't know what round it was. I don't know if it was a 223 or a 5.56, but they say it was launched from an AR style rifle. when it's leaving the muzzle, it's 3130 to 3250 feet per second. By the time it gets 150 yards downrange, which was about 430 feet, 430 to 450 feet, it's traveling at about 2,500 feet per second, whether it's a 5.56 or a 2.23. So my question is there possible damage that could happen to the eardrum? Let's go back here. Is there possible damage that could happen to the eardrum as it's whizzing by your head? You know, is there a sonic blast that's given off? Let me show you this. Like that's how close they say that this bullet traveled to the eardrum. Isn't there some kind of a wave that comes off that bullet? And couldn't it have done some serious damage to the eardrum? I don't know. I'm not a ballistics expert, but I do put this out there for anybody who is a ballistic expert. What are the odds? How probable is it that an actual bullet went by Trump and that he actually turned his head and cocked his head at the exact right angle so as to only be barely grazed? Do you buy this? Because personally, I don't. I just can't. I've been lied to too many times by fake stream CIA infiltrated Operation Mockingbird media, and they've lied to us to get us embroiled into wars. They've lied to us to get us into ritualistic shame muzzles and to bow down to the big pharma industrial complex. They've lied to us to increase the coffers of the military industrial complex and to lay cover for the Federal Reserve. They've lied to us so that we can send boatloads of money that we don't have to other nations rather than giving it to our own people. So there's just too many lies. And the last thing I wanted to show you was this was reported on by Into Thin Air. If you're not following him, follow him on Twitter. It says the incredible testimony by a Trump rally attendee and vendor named Lori. She knew as she pulled into the property that was unlike any other rally she'd ever seen. I haven't even seen any of this yet, so let's see what she says.
Okay, my name is Lori Levi. I'm from Canton, Michigan, and I have been a Trump vendor for way back, ever since 2015. We were at his very first rally in Michigan, and then Iowa, and then it's just kind of expanded from there. We arrived at the location where this rally was going to be Friday morning, as we always come in a day early to check up, and then a lot of times we have a vendor liaison who coordinates where we can set up as far as our tents, tables, so on and so forth. So when we got there early on Friday, we drove into the main entrance and we seen where the Megatrons were. And then it was like...
By this point, how many rallies have you been to?
Probably all but 10 of Trump's rallies. So you'd have to go back and look at that list from 2015. Hundreds, 140, 150. I've lost count by now.
And
I've been in most states.
You were a vendor, so I mean...
A vendor, a merchandise vendor, and I'm a Trump donor. And I also supply Republican offices around the country with high quality merchandise so that they can be supporting and raising money in order to help get out the vote efforts, help support their local candidates. It's not just about money for me. We've got to get the right people in office. This all started back in 2010
So she's in deep with politics. It's like, hey man, we got to get the money flowing to these candidates so we can change and make a positive effect on our country. That's what she believes.
I ran for office because it was so crazy. And
so typically
in Michigan,
you would show up the night before and get set up?
The day before. Sometimes we would go into the town a day or two early so that we could do roadsides where we could just set up on the side of the road because people are excited, and especially a little town like this, it's a big deal that the president is coming to their town. And then so when we pulled into this driveway and seen where they were setting up the Megatrons, I was like, this doesn't look right. And my sister, we call her Donna, she says, what do you mean? I said, something's not right here. This cannot be where they're having him speak. They can't protect him from here. And she's like, well, they will, Secret Service will take care of this. And I just had this terrible feeling. And then
what was your gut telling you?
That just something was off.
I can't imagine that they wouldn't have put Secret Service up on the water tower. The water tower was another issue that a lot of people haven't talked about. And I haven't even seen it at all. I could have missed it, but there's a water tower right here This is a Google map, so it's all crumpled looking. But there's a water tower right here that would also offer line of sight to the Trump stage, because the Trump stage was right here. This shooter was right here, and he supposedly shot right here, got the hydraulic line, got a couple of hits supposedly on the side of the gate. But this water tower is something, I've seen this water tower in some of the videos, and as far as I could tell, there was nobody up on top of that water tower. But there's something that I wanted to show you. It says Secret Service knew of the threat 10 minutes before Donald Trump even walked on the stage. If that's true, then they should have never had him come out on the stage. Because remember, they have one job. That's to protect one guy. And that's it. And if things look iffy, if things look uncertain, if they're too risky, then you call it off. It's not worth it.
Secret Service had identified as a character of suspicion this man, this shooter, because they saw a rangefinder on him as well as a backpack. And this all happened more than an hour before the shooting actually occurred. So they saw the guy and they identified this guy as suspicious. Now, more details coming from a source familiar here who was also in the meeting tells me that about 10 minutes before former President Trump went onto the stage, they had gone from looking at this guy as suspicious to now looking at him as a threat. Secret Service had
10 minutes before taking the stage. And this is the video that I wanted to show you.
All right, everybody, welcome back. July 17th, 2024, and we're looking at Butler Farms. And we're here once again so I can explain to people how the botched Secret Service plan here is being completely covered up in the media. Now they're saying that there was a sniper team in the building that this Thomas shooter kid was on, but they claim they were in the second story window. The problem is this building does...
Now, I haven't seen that report. I have not seen Secret Service say that they were in the second story window. And if it's true, then the second story window would be in this building right here, not this building. Right here is where the sniper was laying. And if they were in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know if that's 7, but let's just call it 6, 5 or 6 windows, then they would certainly have seen movement on top of this roof, because they would have a one-story advantage, height advantage, to see that there was a person here. This is where that other sniper team was while Donald Trump was on the stage. And it just seems strange to me that if indeed they had taken a position in the second story windows in the second story building, that would be this building, not this building, which is single story. This right here was supposed to be the police headquarters. And the question is, and if you've seen the videos, there's a ladder that the shooter supposedly set in place, took all of his stuff up this ladder, got into position, got everything ready, and according to that Fox News report, had a rangefinder, and they let all this stuff slide by.
Not have a second story. This building has a second story, which means the sniper team was set up in these windows here facing Trump. So once again, they're expecting us to believe that the Secret Service is looking out of these windows 1 story higher than this building and still had no clue that there was someone sitting right here aiming a gun at Trump. Guys,
yeah, that right there doesn't make sense. The story doesn't line up. It's awfully iffy. Now, again, let me just clarify. I have not seen Secret Service say anything about second story windows and snipers taking a position there. If that's true, because, there's a lot of information, even when you study this all day for days on end, there's information that comes out that you can miss. So if they did say that, that would be a ridiculous claim. And the fact that the Secret Service chief hasn't been fired from her position for absolutely dropping the ball on something, a job that they had, a singular job that they had, that she's still able to keep her job is amazing to me.
Have been secure, period.
That building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, there's a safety factor that would be considered there, that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof. And so, the decision was made to secure the building from inside.
Should that roof
we can't put our Secret Service guys up on a sloped roof. There's a danger there. So here are a couple questions that can be asked. Who was the woman who appeared to yell the would-be assassin's name? Because she kept saying Crooks, Crooks. There's a video out there that you can find. Why does 20-year-old Crooks have zero social media presence? Here's another question. Why did Crooks appear in a BlackRock video a year before this happens? That's awfully strange. How could Crooks have gotten a ladder and all of his equipment, gotten up on that roof and taken a position without Secret Service doing anything evasive? And why did they let Trump take the stage when they knew at least 10 minutes beforehand that there was something strange going on? And that's according to Fox News. This right here from the Daily Mail says, why did the Secret Service allow Crooks to evade them 3 times before he fired? And this right here says, who is the woman behind Trump? And was Crooks acting alone? This is where they said the direction of the gunfire. They said that this is the sniper. This is the sniper that took him out. This is where Corey Comparator was killed. And this is where they say Trump was shot. I don't have all the answers, but I do have boatloads of questions. If you have questions too, leave them in the comment section below. Do you buy everything they're trying to sell on this Trump assassination attempt? Is this one of those situations where we can definitely trust mainstream media now? They're not lying this time. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my brand new political channel. And what I mean by political is I expose the left, I expose the right, and we just talk about what the truth is in the political parasitic dog and pony show game. It's called The Disturbing Illusion. I will leave the link in the description and in the pinned comment. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. I appreciate you being here. Remember, fight for freedom because it is quickly fading. I'll see you in the next video.